Extraordinary Nobodies was filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Welcome to another episode of the Extraordinary Nobodies. It's KDot and Brendan with his two fucking thumbs of which he shoved up his ass. As is almost before every podcast, Brendan already is like testing my patience, just fucking trying to get at me. Whereas just an impatient fucking prick asshole dickhead fedora wearing
Dean was trying to get an AI to do the podcast. It didn't work.
I wasn't trying to get the AI to do the fucking podcast. I'm trying to get the AI to do one specific thing because I'm learning how to work with fucking AI. And yet, this clickety-clackety motherfucker has to be hitting pens, doing this, doing all kinds of shit because you have no idea how to exist just within yourself for 90 seconds, you impatient prick you.
Yes. Okay. So to summarize, his AI experiments failed and cost us about less than 10 minutes, but close to 10 minutes.
Less than 10 minutes? It took me 10 minutes to do that whole thing.
What?
Fuck you. You were already late. You were a few minutes fucking late. What were you fumbling around for?
Just nothing exciting.
There you go. See, me trying to do something for the podcast. Your bitch ass is late for no goddamn reason, and yet you're still giving me shit for what? Whatever. Fine. We talked about it last episode that we wanted to get through as far as how many times have we talked on the phone this week?
Only like twice.
Only twice. And none of those conversations lasted that long, right? Well, one of them did last long when we talked about the Wizards, but that was fine because we're not
Wizards.
talk about the Wizards.
But we talked about the Wizards because nobody except a handful of people cares about the Wizards. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I just took that basically our conversation there, and I have it on the other podcast with Amit Dish Divided where we talked about the Wizards.
Yeah, we can discuss that, but the Wizards are so
we won't be discussing
unimportant.
We're not going to discuss that. Right. So, doing a good thing. You did a great job. I actually want to applaud you. Keep yourself, managed at least for the week, and not bothering me every fucking 10 minutes to give me your ideas on whatever topic you wrote. So, Brendan, let us know. What do you want to talk about today? What are the topics? What is the list here for us today?
So first and foremost, it's got to be Succession. We did not discuss Succession, despite the fact that we're both huge fans. It's my favorite show on television right now. I think it's your second after Andor. And, man, was that first episode a fucking gem.
We're not going to start with Succession. We're not going to start with spoilers for a show that not everybody has watched. We'll end with Succession. So give me I just want you to give me the rundown on what we're talking about today, and then we'll get into what it is we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
You always wanted like a plan, like a game plan. We're here on the pod. Give us the game plan.
Okay, so first we're going to do Donald Trump indicted.
Okay.
Thoughts, Kadeen? I have many thoughts. Do you want me to go first?
Did you hear what I said? I said, give me all the topics that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to go through the topics.
I'm
on a list of what it is we're going to talk about.
Trump indictments.
Okay, that's one.
The NBA / Joel Embiid being a coward. And then Succession.
Okay.
And that's it. Those are the three topics.
Fantastic job, buddy. See, we're working together here. We're working kind of together, all right? All right, so we'll start off with the Donald Trump indictment, and everybody has heard Trump has been indicted by the grand dirty jury of New York City. What's his name? Alvin Bragg. The DA there in New York has finally brought Trump on the charges. Now, Mr. Lawyer, can you please explain what is going on from a legal standpoint?
We don't have enough. The charges are under seal right now. That means they have not been unveiled, so we don't know, other than what have been leaked, what he's going to be charged with. But it's in connection to the Stormy Daniels hush money payments. So it's kind of a nuanced issue here. It's rather boring. He's going to be charged with at least one count of falsifying business documents, which is a misdemeanor in New York State. Misdemeanor means you can be only imprisoned for less than 1 year, or 1 year or less. But it becomes a felony if you falsify business documents in furtherance of another crime. And in this case, the crime was campaign finance violation. So he falsified. He recorded his payment to Stormy Daniels not as a legal expense to Michael Cohen. Right. What he should have done is he should have recorded it as a personal donation to his campaign, and then a line item on his campaign saying hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. Of course, you're not going to word it like that. But because he both falsified business
Personal
records,
payment.
Personal payment. I mean, I don't know how specific you have to get in campaign finance, but disclosure reports. But because he didn't do that in order to hide it, he both committed campaign finance of campaign finance crime and falsified business documents, which makes it a thing. Now, the interesting issue, I won't get into any more of the weeds in this, the thing, is the campaign finance is a federal crime, not a state crime, and it's unclear whether the New York law applies to take the falsified business documents from a misdemeanor to a felony when it's not a New York state crime that you're falsifying business documents to further. So who knows? It could get knocked down to a misdemeanor. I don't know. But they said there's going to be like 30-odd counts, so there's going to be a bunch, I'm sure, all in connection. But all the evidence we've seen says that it's all related to the Stormy Daniels payment. And if you're unaware, in 2006, Trump banged Stormy Daniels in a hotel room, and then she threatened to tell everybody about it in the waning days of the 2016 election. So he paid her $160,000 not to.
I didn't think it was that much. Maybe it was $100,000.
It was 130. It was something. Yeah, a little over $100,000. Maybe 160. Maybe 130. Yes.
Yeah. So you're asking what my thoughts were on this.
Thoughts is yes.
It's kind of a non-story story at the same time for me. Like, if I'm going to be completely honest.
So, you can say it's not going to have an effect. You can't say it's a non-story.
I was going to talk.
I'm going to interrupt you when I so want, when I so choose.
Oh,
it's first sitting president indicted. Continue. Ever. First non-sitting. First former president indicted ever. Continue.
All right. It's a non-story. Now, the reason I think it's a non-story is because what it ends up being is the same way that I sat there and I let you explain what was happening from a legal standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. You, not once, I think at least twice, maybe 3 times during that, talked about how you didn't want to get in the weeds, this part was boring, X, Y, and Z, right? Mm-hmm. I think for the most part, most Americans are not following this story in a sense of like what actually has been happening or what actual laws have been broken, as much as you have liberals are treating it as an opportunity to dunk on Trump again. And you have conservatives are saying it's a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt. Right. And the thing is,
politically motivated prosecution.
Right. And it's on the heels of everything else that they said have happened to Trump as far as what the two impeachments, all the Russia collusion gate stuff. Right. And then we also know that there are other indictments potentially coming down the road. Like you have what happened as far as Georgia, which to me that's a huge story.
It is.
That's a big deal, right? Compared to this, like this
and
is
the January 6th stuff, and then of course
and the January 6th stuff, which
and
even
January 6th, and even the tax and business fraud with Bragg's office as well.
There was also the documents found in Mar-a-Lago, which everybody's kind of taking a backseat to because Biden got found with documents.
Special counsel. We have one special counsel working on that and the January 6th stuff.
Right. So there's a lot of things in the pipeline, right? So like the thing is to me is that I look and see, okay, if I'm a liberal right now looking at this particular story, I don't necessarily use this as the opportunity to really dunk on him. Because what you're basically saying is like, look, Michael Cohen went to jail for 2 years based on crimes that are all related to this shit, right? So one would think if Michael Cohen's going to jail or had to go to jail for something, then the guy who probably put everything in motion for him to do what he was doing should probably go to jail too, right? No one's above the law. That's fair. That's a fair assessment when it comes from a legal standpoint. No one in this country should be above the law, right?
If I was Michael Cohen, I'd be pissed, right? So he couldn't even get
sort of
a good plea deal because they couldn't prosecute Donald Trump because he was in office.
I get it, but Cohen's set for life being Donald Trump's lawyer Cohen for speaking engagements or book deals or whatever. He'll have some shitty fucking movie on TLC 3 years from now.
And maybe. I don't actually know what his finances are. I assume they took a hit with the jail time, though.
Of course they took a hit with the jail time, but I'm just saying the publicity he gets from this being Michael Cohen and be able to appear as places as Michael Cohen probably ain't hurting him that much. Not to mention he was Trump's fucking lapdog, and the only reason he got caught.
No, I'm not. I'm not feeling sympathy for him. Yeah, I'm just saying if I was him, I'd be very pissed because I feel like
that's fair. But like if I'm looking at this from a standpoint of like what really matters to me legally, like what I do have a hard time with majority of the time are when liberals or Democrats treat this thing that Trump does is like this major indictment on why they need to railroad against him, or this is why he's evil, or this is why you have to do this, that, and the other to keep him out of office, right? And it becomes a certain point where, like, we've started to realize there's not a lot that moves the needle in that way. When he said in 2015 he could shoot a man in Times Square and his poll numbers wouldn't change, I'd actually say they might go up. Like, there are certain things
shot a
that they're
black
just...
person.
Depends, well, we'll see, depends on where. I don't necessarily think he'd get away with that.
In the Republican primary.
Yeah, that'd be weird. But the idea that you have this thing where it's like, this story is not new to anyone. Anyone's thoughts on what it is that he did when it came to Stormy Daniels, they've already made the ruling about it. This feels like more of an after-the-fact technicality sort of thing than anything else. Like,
sure.
I don't expect... And not to mention, like, do any of us really care about the law broken here?
In the vague sense that laws should be upheld in general. And
yeah, but we all have laws we don't agree with, right?
Yeah, we don't.
So
but I agree with this one, but it's one of those ones that I agree with, but I don't care much about. Like,
right, and it's like,
yeah.
So,
like, I think campaign finance
like,
law is very important. Like, for example, I'd be very concerned if, like, a friend of Trump's decided to pay for Stormy Daniels' hush money payments, right? Without paying taxes to Trump, anything like this. But it was his own money, and you're allowed to donate as much money as you want to your campaign. And so he could have just donated to them and said, maybe, what line item is acceptable to the FEC that says hush money payment to Stormy Daniels that doesn't say hush money payment to Stormy Daniels? Right.
It feels like they caught him on a technicality. Like, it's bullshit. Like, it's not bullshit in the sense he broke the law. He potentially broke the law. And because we don't know exactly what's in there, whether it was 34 counts,
yeah,
which means that
I'm sure they're all related.
There's
to
a
that
lot of shit we don't know, right? There's a lot of shit that we don't know as far as
documents. Yeah,
right. I doubt he's down to do any of that shit.
The reason they did it is because he clearly didn't want it to be public, right? So that's why there was the hidden. Yeah,
which. I mean, that's the thing, is like, his fuck up in the first place is that, if I'm not mistaken, he didn't pay Stormy Daniels to have sex the first time. That was just, it happened. And it was an affair. And so, with it being an affair, you're kind of fair game, son. You have a pregnant wife at home, I think, at that point.
He did. And with Barron.
Yeah. You fucked up, son. And then when you hear Stormy Daniels' story after the fact, when she's at the playground with her kid and being harassed by Trump's team and they're signing an NDA. That shit that I want more investigation on. That's some fucked up shit, right? But the idea that he could have signed a piece of paper one way, they didn't sign it, they signed it another way, to keep everybody away from him in the sense, because this is all broke post-Access Hollywood, I grabbed him by the pussy.
This broke after the election. The payments happened at the end of the election. Yeah, but all the
at
news
the end of the election, the payment happens right around the Access Hollywood payments to try to say,
exactly.
God, you can't have another one of these fucking stories out here, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think everybody's also of the idea that, like, we watch TV. Like, you've seen House of Cards. I've watched House of Cards. We watch Succession right now, where last season they were talking about where they make the Kingmakers, right? The idea that someone pays someone to shut the fuck up during an election season.
Very first episode of Succession, there was a hush money payment made. The very first.
So the idea, this is not crazy to us, right? And the idea that you have any politicians on one side yelling at this guy on the other side, to me, does you absolutely no favors politically. What it might actually do is have people look at you and say, fucking hypocrite. Fucking bullshit hypocrite.
No Democrat should say anything other than that's an ongoing investigation. I have full confidence in the legal process to sort it out. That's it. That's for Mr. Trump and the attorney and the jury and the attorney, district attorney of Manhattan. No, it's not district attorney. It's Manhattan attorney. I can't remember Alvin Bragg's specific.
I'll look it up.
But Mr. Bragg to deal with. You don't jump. You don't gloat. Look, if you're going to be an asshole on Twitter and you're not an elected official or don't work in Democratic politics, he's the Manhattan district attorney. So if you're going to be an asshole on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or even fucking TikTok, and you don't work in politics and are not an elected official, go have at it. It's what the social media platforms are for. No one of consequence in those things who works in Democratic or progressive politics or who's an elected official should say anything other than what I just said. You don't gloat. You don't make it. You don't set yourself up to look like an asshole if the case gets thrown out or it results in a non-conviction or it results in a very small plea deal. Right? So you just say mum's the word. Say mum's the word. Non-bland answers. Don't gloat. Yeah, this is the least serious. Even if it's proven guilty, this is by far the least serious of the things he's being investigated for. By far the least serious. Politically, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I said politically, I think even in a general election, I don't think it moves the needle much. Like, really none. In a Republican primary, I think at very least he's going to get a temporary boost. I don't know if the boost will last, right? But I think he's going to go up. Because this plays into the Republican primaries. This plays into I think the only way it has potential is if more indictments come down, or if this stays in the news.
Bingo, the news.
Yeah. So that
is the thing that I'm at, where I'm telling people that, like, if you're going to be talking about this, then talk about it in a nuanced way. This is not the time to slam dunk on fucking anybody. So I tried to listen to Pod Save America when the news first broke. They couldn't even get, Tommy was running around the building, and they had to try to go grab him to come in because the news had just broke about the indictment. And these motherfuckers were like 2 steps away from jerking each other off on fucking camera with how happy they were. The indictment
they were. But they're private citizens, so they can be private citizens now.
Shut up. No.
They actually have too much power in the Democratic Party to be celebrating so gleefully. Yes, because it's not they even made a joke. They were like, it's not time to say we got him, and then they proceeded for 10 minutes to talk as if we got him.
To gloat the entire. They changed the entire beginning of the episode behind the indictment to fucking gloat that they got him. And when I see that, if I'm a Republican or I'm a conservative on Twitter
or conservative,
if I'm on Twitter,
listen to Pod Save America.
You know what they do? They do see clips from that show. So, like, when I'm on Twitter and I follow a lot of different people, I mean, there's a couple people that I just had to get rid of, people that I really looked up to previously because of some stuff that they're saying right now. Twitter is the Wild West right now. If you follow some right-wing people, holy shit, has it gotten fucking crazy. But the idea is that it's very hard for them to separate when you feel as though you're being lied to, taken advantage of, that there's almost a grand conspiracy against you. Right, which is what a lot of conservatives are kind of Trumpists play into, is that there are these haves that are keeping things away from us. That it's the same people that were susceptible to Q. There's some secret cabal. There's this, that, and the other. Right,
of course,
and they don't separate the Democratic politicians from the liberal news media, the MSNBCs, the CNNs. They don't treat it any differently than Pod Save America or any of the pundits that they see on Twitter or anything else. It's all part of what they consider to be one machine, right? That is there to try to keep their guy down and to keep them down. So when I'm seeing every which way on Twitter the last few nights about how this is an absolute sham, that this is ridiculous, they're coming after Trump in this way and that way, anytime I saw a liberal try to react in a way that was brash or harsh over the top, I'm like, chill. Chill. You, under no circumstances can you get anywhere near making that a reality for them. That's my only problem with it, is that liberals can't help but gloat sometimes and really revel in the demise, or what they consider to be the demise of someone. And
just
when
gonna
you
interrupt
do
you
that,
real
it
fast.
plays into a much larger narrative. Yeah.
This is just for the audience and for you. We are under a tornado watch in St. Louis, and it's thunderstorming. So if the internet goes out, it's because we've all died in a tornado. Continue.
Actually, when I was driving home today, I got an alert that said the National Weather Service, whatever the fuck, NOAA or whatever, whoever they they said that your area, and I looked, it's like the entire Midwest, has more level 5 storm than like they've ever seen before. So you might die.
There is a basement here at the house.
Prayers out to everyone that do not have tornado shelters or anything.
Yeah, that's
might
awful.
Be a rough one. I hope everybody's okay.
It's so terrible, especially
I hope
down
everybody
south.
can get the safety.
It's so awful,
bad.
like down
I hope
south.
everybody
in,
can
like,
get the safety.
in Mississippi, when that tornado hit, and that was horrific, because those houses, they're built in areas where it doesn't get cold enough for the pipes to be needed to be buried very deep under the ground because they don't freeze in the winter, and so they don't have basements. And then you saw what happened when those tornado hits in the mobile homes, and it's just it's awful.
Yeah, I saw
awful.
you sent me a text message that I didn't want to reply to, and I'm not going to throw you under the bus here on the pod. Look. So when it comes to this Trump thing, my only issue and why I say it could snowball into something bigger is that it plays in that victimization narrative, right? And it can generate it can motivate people to go out and act out. And acting out being vote, right? If you have an election season right now in which the Democrats are really not that excited. Joe Biden does not excite really anyone. The idea that there isn't really a Democrat waiting in the wings that really anyone responds to. There's no Obama waiting right now, right? The most we have is what Gavin Newsom, who once he opens his mouth, motherfuckers will start realizing that he's not what we want.
Gavin Newsom looks like a tall version of Gordon Gekko.
A tall version of Gordon Gekko doing a Barack Obama impression that feels as though he's one John Edwards moment away from being irrelevant. Okay? Like, that's who he is.
Like, I know his policies, and I agree with most of his policies, but he just comes off as a little bit...
He's a dick. He's a dickhead.
Skeezy.
He's a dickhead.
I don't know if he's a dick. He comes off as skeezy.
He's a dickhead.
It's not that he is.
He's a dickhead.
It's just he comes off
he's
that
just
way. He needs to work on
fucking
that.
Restaurants. He
needs to work that.
I don't think there's any hope for that. I don't see him running around the Rust Belt getting a lot of votes. Okay.
I think he can work on it. But
regardless, you have to try to sell me on this guy, right? So, like,
yes,
there is nobody waiting in the wings in the Democratic Party that really excites us. So, what this looks like this year is if it comes to a Democrat being the guy to get, I see a low voter turnout for Democrats this cycle. And if that's the case, all that you need to do is get enough people riled up around any sort of bullshit to get them to go out and vote. I just think that we need to pick our battles when it comes to dunking on Trump, because we've seen time and time again the motherfucker's pretty much bulletproof when it comes to certain aspects of things.
No one should make this the centerpiece of their campaign against Trump. This should just be something that everyone's aware of going on in the background. I'm not talking about politically. I'm saying everyone in the liberal side, media included, because I blame a lot of quote-unquote liberal media for Trump existing in the fucking first place. When they kept making fun of him but had him on news cycles 24/7 during they were mocking him, but they gave him so much free media, it was crazy, yeah.
But it wasn't just the free media. It's free media. When you turn on your TV, well, here's the thing. When you walk into any doctor's office, fucking DMV, any of that shit, right? Across the country, you're usually seeing HGTV, Food Network, or CNN. It's one of those three, typically, when you walk inside an office, right? If you're there, you might not turn on CNN at home, but when you get home and you're at somewhere and you see CNN, and you see all these guys constantly dunking on Trump, saying how stupid Trump is, that you are inflaming something in people. You're riling people up. It's not just that he's on TV. Anybody could be. The My Pillow guy's on TV. Anybody could just be on
Mike
TV.
Lindell, yeah.
It's what happens. It's what happens when you are on TV. What does that elicit? Does it elicit a feeling that makes somebody want to go do something? Trump is not somebody that I think rallies people to get behind his messaging as much as they just feel when he was in the debates and he called Hillary Clinton out for being a hypocrite, when he said that what he did was taking advantage of the tax system, which is what all of them do, right? When he's being truthful in that sense, Americans look across and say, "Hey, motherfucker's got a point." And they don't want, and wow, there's a large segment of the other side that don't even want to admit that he has a point. And then when he doesn't, now we're going to do everything we can to try to mock him and make fun of him. But no, I kind of like this guy. It's kind of fucked up you guys are doing it. And then, it's nothing but a bunch of dumb racist hicks that are voting for him? I'm not dumb. We're racist. Fuck you. And now you're out of the debate. I just think we're falling for the exact same ploy.
I just don't think it matters. I genuinely don't. Unless the Democrats make this centerpiece of the
Y'all
political
thought
campaign,
it didn't
I think
matter in
it's irrelevant.
2015. Y'all thought it didn't matter in 2015.
That's what we're learning from this. That's what we're learning from it. In 2015,
You're
we would have
learning
leaned
all
into this.
the wrong things.
We beat him in
You're
2020.
learning all the wrong things.
Just don't focus on his personal
2020
issues.
would have been a Trump landslide victory if it wasn't for him not being able to just shut the fuck up during COVID. That's literally it.
There's no way you could say that. It's an untestable hypothesis, so I'm going to disregard it as irrelevant.
Okay.
I just don't think it matters. As long as the Democratic elected officials and party figureheads don't talk about it too much, it's not going to move the needle one way or the other. Don't focus too much time on it. If people on Twitter want to dunk on Trump for getting indicted, I don't really care.
How many voters do you think actually listen to politicians during the fucking year?
Very few. They seem but they listen to their messages on CNN or in the newspaper or on social media.
What do they listen to more on CNN or social media? They see someone's interpretation of what that person said more than anything. You're not even really listening to the. How many conservatives do you know that have never actually probably heard AOC speak through a complete thought ever? As much as they take sound clips and then it's
they've only ever seen her clips
clips
on social media and on Fox News or Breitbart or whatever. Yeah.
My point is that I'm not just blaming politicians. I'm blaming liberals, citizens, for creating an environment in which, for creating and cultivating an environment in which you have guys like Trump that can win and will win. And when you have a guy like Ron DeSantis who
I don't think the liberals are for that.
But picked a perfect line last night with coming out with what he said in the statement about this kind of being a witch hunt, right? But still kind of distanced himself at least to a certain degree, going through the primary or anything else. He still has this thing that he can talk about and rile up the hey, I was never one to attack Trump, which is he still hasn't been. He's kept his mouth shut, kind of Chris.
Some quote unquote subtle digs about him being a winner.
Subtle digs, stuff that you can start crying plausible deniability on if you're him, right? But
I'm not saying Trump's a loser. I'm just saying I'm a winner.
That's it. So he hasn't gone full cuck. He's not Ted Cruz with I'm going to defend the guy who insulted my wife. He hasn't gone the full Christie yet in the sense of this guy lambasted me and now his butt boy is just fucking here to do whatever.
And then he almost killed me with COVID by giving me COVID, and now I'm back to hating him.
Fucking Chris Christie, you dumb son of a bitch. You could have had it all, Chris. You could have had it all. Right.
I mean, he almost died of COVID that he got from going to a Trump event. It's ridiculous.
But that's him. He turned into Trump.
And then Trump called him in the hospital and asked him if he was going to tell people he gave him COVID. Not, how are you doing? Not, DeSantis, I hope you get better.
I'm saying that right now, to me, this story is pretty much a non-story. That's what I'm saying. I get the precedent as far as an indictment on a president and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. The Trump being the first to do X means so little to me because he's the first president to do 100 million things. Okay.
Yes.
He's the first president we caught on said he could shoot somebody. And his poll numbers wouldn't drop. He's the first
we don't know that Andrew Jackson did shoot people. His poll numbers didn't drop. So.
All right, but it was legal back then. It was legal. It was cool. So there's
how many duels did he fight?
It's an insane. It's like a recorded number and then what the rumor number is. My thing is if not played correctly, you fall the risk of creating that victim mentality for a lot of conservatives. And I just think Democrats and liberals need to calm down. And what they need to do is the same way in which if you're going to have something to criticize Trump, in the same tweet say, I want Nancy Pelosi and I want all these guys to let go of their stock options when they're there in Congress. Like, if you're going to say something critical of him, you should be critical of your own party in the exact same mind frame. And it should be the Democrats that need to actually have a moral superiority high ground. Because there's room to move, but they refuse to do so because they're just as corrupted and whoa, shit, Siri's listening to everything I'm saying.
When you say just as corrupted, you've lost me. The moral superiority is not as clear as it should have been. Not just as. Yeah. It's not. You're right. It's a false equivalency. But you have an ability to be better. But in this
truly
situation,
be
I think
better.
you're right that the perception matters more than reality. It's not that the Democrats are as corrupt or as immoral as the Republicans are. It's that they do things that give off the stench of immorality and corruption, which allows people, just regular people, not just the media, to create an equivalency between them and the Republican Party, right? Oh, the Democrats take money from corporations too. I don't see the Democrats doing X, Y, and Z to help me. They're just like the Republicans. And you know what the Republicans say? They love guns and God, and I like guns and God too. So I'm going to vote Republican. And that's fair. Again, I think that's a smaller segment of the population than the population that we discussed about in episode 1, which is just like we can't win them. The people I've written off. Again, want to help them with policies, but politically, I've written them off politically. Yeah, we can't win their votes, so I'm not even going to try. But there is that portion of population that thinks both parties are evil, and culturally, I like. It's not that you hate the gays and the trans people, but culturally, you're just like God's guns. Leave me alone. Both sides are corrupt. I might as well go with the side that seems to stand with me on things I like. Yes, yeah, that's a problem.
That's where I'm at. I hate both parties because I think the Democrats have lost their balls, lack of better terminology. What it meant to be a liberal or progressive when I was a kid compared to what it means nowadays is
we're
fucking far removed.
We're more liberal.
The
Overton window has shifted. Bernie Sanders is a real political.
Bullshit. See, that's my point. The Overton window shifted, right? But here's where I was compared to where the Overton window is. All the way over here, okay? I've always been here. But what everybody's done is that what we've done is we've changed what it is to be or be considered like certain liberal ideals which are more social, which we're going to come through anyway. Because that's what it's what happens. So like gay marriage, we all knew what was going to happen there. I don't think anybody that was still, when Barack Obama in 2008 was still doing his dog and pony show bullshit, tapping around fucking gay marriage. It was, you stupid son of a bitch, you're just trying not to say anything to get your hand up. We all know where this is going.
I mean, he had publicly stated years before that he was fine with gay marriage, and then for electoral politics purposes, he decided that it just should be civil unions.
My point is, the Overton window shifted as far as what's acceptable in the political discourse in America, what is considered liberal policies or conservative policies, right? But liberal and conservative to me, the social aspect of that was always a lot less than what it meant fiscally.
But economically, we've moved further. We've moved further. We've moved towards single-payer health care. That's a mainstream idea now. We've gotten Obamacare, which was... Think about when you were in the Clinton administration. They tried to pass a much less comprehensive...
Back then, what did we say as what did I say as a progressive? These policies, if explained properly, are vastly popular, and they always have been. It's just no one's been able to do a good job on the left, as far as mainstream Democrats, in explaining these things.
Medicare for all is pretty well explained. I think that's pretty simple.
No, it's not, because Obama tried to do that shit. In the moment when all the town hall meetings and then became the death panels, and
that was
Obamacare.
That is not Medicare for all.
I'm saying very different. And that was hang on. When Obama started having the town halls about healthcare, that was before we had legislation.
Yes,
he wanted to have public discourse. We wanted that to be one of the topics of conversation. We were trying to figure out what it was that Americans would accept. That was what all the town halls were for. The single-payer option, which is something that a lot of, I think, majority of Democrats agreed with at that particular point in time. But even beyond that, I think majority of conservatives would understand. I think majority of conservatives would understand if they heard the truth about what it was and not death panels, this, that, and the other. Right?
It polls really well. Medicare for all polls really well. And there's reason it polls really well, Dean, is because... everybody knows somebody on Medicare, and they know it's not death panels. That's not what Obamacare was. So they were able to switch in all this stuff. If you go out to them and say, I'm going to give you all Medicare, and you say, if you talk to grandma or grandpa or mom or dad and ask them if they like their health care that they don't pay a dime out of pocket for, And they're going to say, yes, we do. And, so that's simple. That's why it polls well. Now, there are some nuances, too, right? Because people say that they like Medicare for all, but when you mention to them that private insurance is going to go away if you have Medicare for all, then they like it less. But that's just because people are two reasons, I think, and I don't have data to back this up. One is people are resistant to change, right? They were like, I have health insurance. I like my health insurance. I don't want to have to deal with getting new health insurance, right? And two is that whatchamacallit, they conflate health insurance with their doctor, right? So they think if they change, they're going to have to switch their healthcare providers, which they like. Because let's be real, very few people who don't use their insurance a lot actually like their healthcare insurance, right? They don't know anything about it. It's only the people. Yeah. So
let me ask you this.
Serious.
How far away is anyone from legitimately giving us a single-payer healthcare option and having it there on Capitol Hill to be voted for?
It's been voted. It's been introduced multiple times.
No, you're saying how popular it is, right? I'm saying how far away do you think we are from actually having it done?
Do you want to have years? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but within 20 years, I think we'll have single-payer healthcare.
Yeah, see, to me, I think you're damn near dreaming. I want to see it happen. I want to see it happen.
20 years
I really do want to see it happen. But regardless, I was talking about my own political beliefs and what they're being left to what everybody else has been for a very fucking long time. And the idea of what it means to be even a liberal or progressive nowadays, as far as if we're talking about from a social standpoint, free speech, I think that has completely gone the opposite direction compared to what it was to be liberal early on. I remember George Carlin, the words you couldn't say on TV. I remember what?
Yeah. Don't say free speech. Free speech is a specific type of speech that the government prohibits or doesn't prohibit.
Non-problematic speech.
Non-problematic speech. That's
that
fine.
Won't get criticized.
Social regulation of speech.
You from
social regulation
from society.
Of speech.
That shit. Yes. That's fine. There we
go. People do it all
the
time. It pisses me off. I am an attorney. Freedom of speech is the government cannot restrict you from saying things.
I know.
It is not.
I know. Yeah. But here's the. If you want to get into semantics with it, we can get into semantics with it. But you know what I mean. And that's the general point. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
but it's an important difference because people are, when you say freedom of speech, they think consequences, as in fines and penalties by the government frequently. So that they may not understand that the consequence is losing your job. It's not the government's going to come get you, right?
I get it.
One's bad. The government coming to get you is far worse.
But if a social climate exists in which you can lose your livelihood over something that you say,
you've always been able to lose your livelihood. It's just what's
acceptable.
You can't curse out your boss. Yeah, you can never curse out your boss. In fact, you're more likely to be able to curse out your boss now.
To speak an opinion, to do anything else might get you in trouble with certain aspects of the society.
The problem is, I think we've gone past the line where I think socially acceptable speech has gotten too narrow in many regards. Not everyone's unpopular opinion is reason for cancellation, and not everyone. Here's the important part: not everyone's fuck up is reason to socially ostracize them and kick them, and remove them from society forever. Yeah, like,
and I think that is something that liberals used to pride ourselves on not doing.
Yeah.
We fought for that, and now I think that we've kind of changed with this younger generation. It is at a place where they want to say what is or isn't acceptable behavior or speech from people. All right, what's the next topic?
Well, and the problem is that it inevitably becomes the speech that you don't like. It's the one that's
always that.
Yeah,
it's always that.
Even the conservatives do that too. They just don't try to get people canceled. They just whine about it. So continue.
Yeah, I think it depends. All right, next topic.
So, Joel Embiid, coward, lost by non-existent vote for MVP. Why? Because he had a matchup with the Denver Nuggets. What was it? Tuesday? Either Monday or Tuesday. Big game, right? Number 3 seed in the East, number 1 seed in the West. 2 leading MVP candidates, Joel Embiid, Jokic, both playing center. Big matchup. Joel's been out with some minor injuries for the last couple days. He misses the game. At this point, I'm a little disappointed because I was excited about that game. 2 MVP candidates going toe-to-toe. They play the same position. Should have been fun. But But then the problem is they had back-to-back, and that motherfucker came back the very next game against the Dallas Mavericks, a trash team where he could and did dominate to put up statistics to help him for his MVP voting. I shouldn't say trash team, a failing team right now, a team in free fall with no defense. And I'm sorry, if you want to be MVP, you got to play the best and play well. I'm not going to say you have to beat the place. If Joel puts up 45 points and they lose to the Nuggets, that's fine. He showed up. He tried. The man did not show up and then showed up a day later, less than 24 hours later, to play a much worse team with a much worse defense, not against the reigning MVP. So I love Joel Embiid in general because I think he's fun to watch and he's hysterical. In this case, he's a coward and he lost the MVP vote for me. Continue your thoughts.
I'm counting something.
What?
Hang on. Since March 10th, leading up to that game, the Philadelphia Sixers played 13 games. The Nuggets played 9.
Okay.
What is the prime objective in an NBA season?
To win the championship.
Does Joel Embiid have a history of being injured?
Yes.
Are they looking really good as far as their seeding for the NBA playoffs?
They're pretty much locked into the 3rd seed.
Does them beating or losing to the Nuggets affect the Nuggets seeding compared to their seeding at all, really?
No, not really.
They're different conferences, right? Who gives a fuck? Joel, do whatever you need to. I know you.
It's a MVP, it's a regular season award.
You're full of shit. You're full of shit. This is what it comes down to. And every day I'm proven more and more right about this particular theory, which is regular season NBA doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter.
But it matters to the MVP voting.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay? It just doesn't matter. Even the MVP voting doesn't really fucking matter. At the end of the day, we are starting to realize everybody has their own fucking definition of what MVP is. Thank God your ass don't have a fucking vote. And whoever's going to end up the MVP is going to end up the fucking MVP. I'm hoping it's not Jokic, because I don't like that doughy fucking European winning everything against the black players. I'll admit to saying that shit. That's what I believe. But the idea that Joel Embiid owes anything to anyone other than resting up. Look, if I got to go big body knocking up against Jokic before I go make my playoff run, compared to maybe I'll see him in the finals and I got to do it fucking anyway, cool. Cool, homie. Do what you need to do.
Is my opinion based 90% on the fact that I was excited about watching the Nuggets play the Sixers on League Pass? Yes.
You wanted some random fucking Monday night.
Yes, it is.
In this era of the fucking calendar year when football's not on to entertain yourself.
It ruined my entertainment for that night, and I was not pleased. And then I got much angrier when he returned the next night against the Dallas.
NBA fans need to wrap their heads around this. It's the same thing that me and Brendan talked about on the phone the other day. Same thing I rolled out on the podcast with me and Ahmed having dished about it. Before an NBA season starts, you know goddamn well there is at most any year 4 legitimate championship teams. 4 legitimate championship teams.
I disagree. I think there's 6 to 8. But
Shut up.
This is
you're in still denial as your whole fucking Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic bullshit. You're just in denial. What it is that you have 4 teams that legitimately have a shot. Go back and look over the course of the last 30 years how many real fucking surprises you've seen win a goddamn championship. Now, those 4 teams that usually have it, they all have something in common. They usually have a generational talent on the team and 1 or 2 really good secondary players, a secondary and a third player, all-stars, that can assist with that, right? Then you have another 2 to 4 teams. Rounds it out to about 6 or 8. Those teams exist where they're really well-built teams. The only shot at ever getting a championship is if an injury happens to the players that happened in those other top teams.
Or Doc Rivers is coaching the other.
Or Doc Rivers is coaching, which just counts as you got 2 injured guys.
It's a -2. healthy players.
When you look at an NBA season that way, you start to realize at any given point in time, there are 30 teams in the league. If you can only take 6 to 8 seriously, that means that there are 20-something teams that it literally doesn't fucking matter that you're even showing up.
That's the case.
You're literally just practicing to see whether or not you got a generational talent.
It's still fun to watch.
That's it.
It's still,
I
it's still
bet on it
entertaining
every fucking night.
Yeah.
I've got like $300 in fucking bets going on. I watch, but I also know when I'm looking at the game and I'm like, God damn it, I put money on Embiid and his ass ain't even fucking playing. Or when you see that like the dude just isn't really giving a shit that game, and you're like, fuck. That to me is added to the fun of fucking betting. There are these landmines you have to fucking avoid too. It's kind of fun.
Is this player going to physically show up? And if he does show up, is he going to care?
Right. It's all part of it, okay? But the thing is that we just have to calm the fuck down. This shit don't matter. There are 82 games in a fucking season. You already know.
Too many
off
games.
The bat.
Way too many games.
82 games of 82 of any season is too many.
Yeah, that's way too many.
With 82 games, they all matter? Fuck no.
No, so let's be real. That's why this thing pissed me off. It's not because the games matter, right? It's because they're entertainment, right? They're entertainment. The games that matter start in the playoffs.
He played against Golden State. He played against Phoenix. He played against Dallas. Give him
all those things are fun.
Off.
But the Jokic night is the most important because he's the reigning MVP. And they play the same position. Yes, I understand. And he could have taken the Dallas game off. He could have taken the stupid fucking Dallas game.
No, you don't get to do that shit. That's that horse shit.
What people want to do. Game off.
This is the other thing that's making NBA talk fucking nutso this year.
No one was excited about the Dallas.
No, you know what's funny? You know what everybody's worried about right now? You know what everybody's just worried about? They're worried that this far into a season, you don't know who the MVP is, and people are freaking the fuck out. People are freaking out.
Before this incident,
you don't see this typically.
No, it's great that the race is wonderful. Before this this incident, I probably, if I had a vote, I would have voted for Embiid, mostly because he's somebody different, and he's amazing, right? He's amazing, and I like his personality way more than Joker's personality, which is that of paint drying. But because of this, because he ruined I can't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday night's entertainment, he's lost my non-existent vote.
Once again, people don't even know how to talk about the NBA right now because every day that goes by is showing how irrelevant the regular season is, which throws everything out of whack. And number two, usually by now in a season, we already know who our MVP vote is. The fact that there isn't has people doing everything they can to try to justify this person, that person, to find some way to knock this guy down in order to make sense of it, just for our brains to fucking function. And it's just hilarious. It's fucking hilarious to me. This is just NBA talk right now is just the most ridiculous thing on the planet. It's just fucking ridiculous.
I've moved into the scenario where I decide my non-existent vote for MVP based on who doesn't fuck love for my night's entertainment.
You even got money involved. You fucking suck.
No, I was just looking
Can you bet in Missouri? Can you bet in Missouri?
I have no. Let me Google it. I'm not sure. There are casinos you can definitely do there. River casinos in Missouri. Yes, it's passed, but it has not been implemented yet. And I literally mean like it was passed like a week ago. So at some point.
Yeah, just wait, bud. Just wait. You know what I figured out in D.C. driving through the other day? I can bet on Wheel of Fortune, actual money in D.C.
Jesus Christ. Aren't those things pre-recorded?
I don't know, but I'm going to give it a shot next time I'm in
I
D.C.
think that's dangerous because I'm pretty sure Wheel of Fortune's not live. And by pretty sure, I mean like 99.9%. And that seems like rife for abuse. But okay.
Yeah, look, what they've done is when you walk into a gas station, you see the alcoholic crackhead watching the virtual horses on the machine. That's me on my smartphone now. It's fucking dope. It's great. Which actually reminds me of something that I do off the fucking Embiid thing. You just lost your goddamn mind. Quickly mentioning the TikTok thing, because one of our boys, Sam Sullivan, mentioned something that he said that he wanted to know whether or not we wanted him on the podcast to speak about the TikTok thing that we talked about last week, because apparently he's not a TikTok user, but he also doesn't believe it should be banned. I'll tell you right now, Sam. No, you're not invited on the podcast. We're not inviting anybody on the podcast now for now, and especially not you. Like you, what? Like, come on, bro. Step your level up. You know, if you want to get on here with us, But we do appreciate the like and the follow, and I know you're subscribing, and I appreciate the comments as well. That was dope.
No.
The TikTok thing. Look, I'm a firm believer that TikTok is bad for people. The use of it's just bad for people, and the way that we use it nowadays. But I can say the exact same thing about Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, the rest of fucking social media. Just the way that we use internet and the way the smartphone usage is there.
I agree.
The line in the sand for me, compared to Brendan on this, is I don't consider China to be a bigger boogeyman than mass corporations. I don't. And I think that their influence in anything is pretty akin to the influence that all these corporations have as well. I do believe in keeping these platforms pretty free and open, and I don't like the idea of banning things if it's just another form for people to let out their whatever it is their thoughts are, or create these videos. If there is something to say that, like, the Chinese government is trying to use, like, even when I look at the data, it's like, okay, well, what data can they then harvest, and what would they use it for? Like, you've got to paint me some sort of scenario in which I've actually got to be worried about it, instead of thinking some slippery slope. Oh my God, just the Chinese government has data.
They used it to spy on a journalist who was reporting on them. A Western journalist who was reporting on them. That's
a problem. But in what way?
But I should mention, I don't think it was the Chinese government. I think it was the TikTok.
See?
Gourd, the problem is, like, so if you do that in the United States, you're asking to get sued and you might go to jail. That's not going to happen in China. All the government does is say, don't get caught next time.
But I think, if there's an like what the United States has done as far as saying, like, federal government employees can't have TikTok on their phones.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that's very smart.
But
nobody who has any even remotely confidential, and I'm not talking about the classified system, like any information you wouldn't like the Chinese to have, you probably shouldn't have it on your phone. But on the other hand, I'm going to be honest, if there's any information you would prefer that Facebook or Google or Twitter not have, although probably Twitter's so incompetent, they probably have a shitty data harvesting organization things.
Like Elon's doing right now with that.
Yeah.
So majority of fucking, if you work in certain aspects of if you work in certain aspects of sensitive government, you should probably not even have a smartphone. Like, if we're being completely honest, right? Or if you do, it should be some double encrypted shit that the masses don't have fucking access to. Like,
and it should only be for work. And you should only use this, and I'm sure people don't do that. I'm sure they have that phone.
No, of course not.
Fucking playing goddamn Candy Crush on motherfucker.
No, I don't look at TikTok as the boogeyman. The one thing that I said was that I thought I gave props to, if the Chinese government is working with TikTok to scheme to make Americans dumber via giving them what they say they want in more TikTok, I say kudos to them.
I don't like that.
You're playing a good game, sir. Like, I find that hilarious. It's intelligent. They're playing the long game. I dislike it too, but I don't blame China. I blame us for allowing ourselves to be susceptible to that. That's it.
Well, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. If you did the same shit in China, I'm sure the Chinese would spend just as much time on fucking, like, dances and whatnot. They're just not allowed to. That's what. But
my thing is that, okay, they do have parental locks. They do have things you can do with, and that goes into that whole back and forth about what parents are. And
let's just not get back into the TikTok thing. We discussed it to death. Yeah.
All right. So to end this episode, season 4 of Succession came right on down.
Alert! Spoilers!
And actually, we'll preview this. What we're gonna start doing are 2 episodes of the podcast per week. One, because me and Brendan literally we're like fighting every urge to call each other and talk about the fucking episode. This is the first time we're talking about the episode. We want to do an episode right after the Sunday night episodes come out so that we can have our fresh thoughts. We'll keep that to that, and then we'll have this kind of be separate because we didn't get the opportunity to do it this week. We're just bridging everything here. So season 4, episode 1, the title's The Monsters. We're 3 months after the events that ended season 3. Where Tom betrayed Shiv, and everything is happening. You got the three siblings are in California trying to work on their new. While they're in exile, but trying to work on their new media venture, The 100, which is what Substack meet Newsweek meets
the
Gizmodo
meets
the
Masterclass.
It's Bravo.
Oh my God.
It's a great name. The 100's a great name.
When they brought that up and then described how big of a bullshit thing it was, I was like, this is so good already. Of course, the kids are trying to start
It's great.
the stupidest.
Romy, I want to start a business with you, Romy. All right, so the siblings there, just full circle, like season 1, episode 1. It's Logan's birthday. He's having a miserable time in his apartment, or his multi-level penthouse apartment bullshit that he has.
His condo, yeah.
Where they are literally days away from selling out the acquisition of Gojo. They're selling his stock as far as Waystar, and it looks like he's going to slide into being in charge of ATN.
So what's that? So you're explaining?
But they are trying to.
What they're doing business-wise is he's selling off all of the divisions of Waystar Rocco, all their newspapers, all their shit, except
ATN.
The ATN, which is being spun off, which they straight up stole this from Fox. I mean, like, it's exactly what happened. Fox spun off everything except their news and sports divisions to sold to Disney, right? Or
where does Gojo fit in?
But Gojo's just the Disney stand-in, right?
So I'm mentioning it. You just said what the fuck I just said.
Well, no, because you said he's taking over ATN, which makes it sound like he was working under Gojo. He's taking over ATN in the sense of being the figurehead for ATN, which is not something he's been. He hasn't. But he's going to own ATN
figurehead
still.
for ATN.
He's
always going to own it.
Yeah.
He's not underneath. But although listening to the conversation he had last season with him, there was a little what was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Is that they wanted a power sharing dynamic potentially, and whatever. But that's not what's necessarily happening right now. Regardless, it's Logan's birthday. He's a miserable fuck in the room with all these guys. They are trying to acquire the Pierce's company. What's the name of the network or their shit? Their Con Nast Newsweek statement.
Yeah, I don't know. But essentially, he's trying to take the money he gets from the sale of the vast majority of Waystar Royco and buy the Pierce's news organization with that money. And it's clear that in the years since season 2. Let's just say the value of their old media company has gone down.
Plummeted. Quite a bit. But now the kids learn through a well-placed phone call by Tom that this is what's happening, and now they try to start a bidding war with Logan to try to acquire the Pierce's company. They do win at the end of the episode. It is what it is.
Billy.
Just want to give everybody a basic synopsis of the fucking episode. What were your thoughts? I think we're going to break this down in more categories as we go along, but what are your thoughts on this episode? I thought it was absolutely phenomenal.
So good. So good. Succession does the merging of, like, humor and seriousness and sadness as well as any show I've ever seen. It is just it's funny and then heartbreaking and then deadly dramatic with tension. And you're scared of Logan, just like the characters in the show are, and it's just wonderful. This show came back with a bang. I laughed at so many points during this episode, and then I didn't cry, but I damn near did with the Shiv and Tom conversation. Oh my God, that was heartbreaking. And then at the end, with them going, the bidding war was incredibly tense. And then Logan's little sign off, congratulations on saying the biggest fucking number. Yeah.
And the biggest number, morons.
Morons, yeah.
It's great. I've watched the episode 6 times. 6 times since Sunday. The one thing that I would say above all else that I felt when the episode was over was complete sadness. Number one sadness because of the Tom and Shiv thing. My girlfriend, Devin, Brendan's sister, reminds me just from a look standpoint of Shiv terribly.
She does look a lot like
calls
Shiv.
Devin Shiv. My family
she looks
calls
a lot
her
like Shiv. Yeah.
So there's
she looks like
that.
Sarah Snook,
I don't quite look like Tom, but I also have been through a divorce. and the laying on the bed, where neither of you really want to leave the other one, but you know it's over, and you know you need to go, but you don't want to, at least not right now. The awkwardness of that played into that episode is some of the realest shit you'll ever know or experience, and you don't know unless you've been through a divorce, of like
So
what
you're
that
saying
feels
is that
like.
somebody that in the writer's room, the people who've been divorced, were definitely taking the lead on that.
They spoke up. They spoke up.
Yeah.
It's literally like you will be in. So do you go? Do I go? Like you've made the decision.
Yeah.
This is it. And it usually doesn't happen with a bunch of fireworks stuff. It's at the end. There's a sadness, and you're both sad. And there's a. So should I go? Should you go? Well, I don't want you to go. Even though, do you want to try to have sex? That absolutely fucking happens. 100% have. Like, one more time. Like, what do you want to do? And it's always awkward. And here's the thing: if you do it, sometimes it's great. Whatever. The idea that it struck so real, it struck a chord of me. But the saddest part that I was that knowing that this is the last season of the show, I was just sad. I'm going to miss being with them. And the thing is that you forget when you're getting the fresh episodes how much... Like, it's one of my favorite shows to rewatch. I've rewatched before every season. You just want to be around them again. It feels like being around your friends with the wit and the humor. It is by far the funniest show on television. It is the funniest show on TV. It just so happens that it definitely has that drama aspect. It is in a Shakespearean sense. And I mean, if you want to look through, the entire series is basically King Lear.
Lear,
and you have multiple aspects, right? So it's Shakespearean. It is a tragedy in a Shakespearean sense of what tragedy is, right?
Yeah. It is because it's a Shakespearean tragedy, and that the character defects of all the main characters lead to their downfall.
100%. It's absolutely incredible. I'm just gonna miss being with these guys. The episode's hitting on all cylinders. Like as far as scenes go, the scene at the diner with Logan
so
and his
good.
Bodyguard.
Colin,
was in where you could just tell Logan doesn't really care about Colin, even though it is his best friend. You're my best friend, Colin. Cuts him off after every opportunity to speak. It's amazing. He doesn't want to hear anything Colin has to say. He just needs him to bounce things off of.
We can never really
incredible.
know. But I have my fucking suspicions.
This is, in my opinion, this might have been Brian Cox's finest episode of Succession.
It was so
from
good.
Start to finish.
That scene where they're singing him happy birthday and he just turns away, Jesus fucking Christ. I was just like, this is amazing.
Fucking monsters,
I was dying laughing.
It's great. But then beyond that, the scene with Tom and Logan at the birthday party.
Yes, so
where
good.
Tom's trying to figure out, hey, if so me and Shiv were trying the whole this experiment, the separation.
Yep.
Just want to know if things were to if we're good, we're good.
Uh-huh.
And then turns to, can you get Tom some fucking food? He's losing his shit.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. Beyond that, the siblings together have a wonderful back and forth playful thing happening. And Roman ascending. Roman's ascending. Roman's becoming the guy that from jerking off on the windows at the fucking building to probably being the most fucking business savvy of the three. I'm the only one who doesn't want to fuck
somebody over. So he's the only one not making this business deal with his heart and trying to use his head. Right?
Also the most emotionally intelligent of the three. He's the only one who can actually tell you when something's happening, right? With him.
Yeah.
And even when Shiv has the moment where she gets off the phone with Tom, and she's clearly having a moment, it's Roman that steps up and says, hey, give us 5.
Give us 5.
Because he knows he needs to be there for his fucking sister. Like, Roman... It's amazing to see Roman's arc in this show. He probably has the most complete arc, even though Jeremy Strong is, like, killing it. Jeremy Strong feels like his character just resets every fucking season.
Yeah, it's
a reset every season.
But I mean, so people on this pod probably know I'm a recovering alcoholic, and Jeremy's character goes around in circles. But the thing is, if you're in and out of recovery like he is, your life is a circle. So it plays true, but it's less of an arc and more of a until you get and stay sober. That's when you get the arc. Otherwise, it's just going round and round. Yeah,
round.
And he plays it incredibly well.
So there's a bunch of great lines. The other thing on the rewatch was that every time I thought I had a line of the episode, the first time, then another line would come in trumpet. And it was just like, holy shit. These guys are just, they're killing it and all. The Greg and Tom who need their own, like, if the show is to continue beyond the season, please let it be a Greg and Tom show.
A sitcom. We can just have them living in
The
New
Disgusting
York.
Brothers? The Disgusting Brothers.
Did you rummage?
It's great.
To fruition?
Did you rummage to fruition? Which is the line of the episode. That's the line of the episode.
That's the line of the episode.
It's the line of the episode. I've never heard that. That was incredible. It was absolutely. It was incredible.
It was such good writing, and even the writing around that, like you made him an inadvertent sex tape. He's gonna fucking gut you like a rainbow trout.
It's so good.
Or even as he's describing, Logan likes to watch the footage to see if anyone's stealing the silver at night. And I just like, that's hysterical, and it's definitely something Logan would do. Not because he cares about the money, but because he cares that somebody might be trying to fuck him over, right?
Would anyone like to smell Greg's finger? What about fucking great.
He thinks
even like
he says he finds me a disgrace and a disgusting and a disgrace, but he was kind of smiling when he said it.
Beyond the Logan being bored in the room. Tell me a joke. Someone guys roast me. Which I don't know if you noticed, but it felt like a callback to Kendall when Kendall wanted to hear all the bad tweets and everything about him, and he wanted those guys
It also felt that was amazing to me because it was like. Another, like, even though he in some ways despises his kids, he needs them because they're the only ones who will roast him like that, right? And who'll keep it light and maybe not keep it light, but keep it zingy. And he doesn't have them. And it was so clear he was miserable with only, I just think about it with only Connor there. We didn't even mention Connor's. I'm afraid if I fall below 1%, I'll become a
$100 million. But you'll still be rich, right? I mean, yeah, but I mean, with $100 million less. All right, so episode was great. I think we're all in agreement there. Much great elements. I do have some plot questions that have been going around in my head that I've been wanting to ask you about for the last week. We know the two big things in this episode that set everything in motion as far as the major conflict, right? Happened because of Tom and because of Greg. Tom calls Shiv to let her know that he had dinner with, or he met up with Naomi Pierce, which sets everything in motion as far as them understanding that there's even that they're bidding for the Pierce's company. And number two is Greg's date, Miss what's her name? Bridget, Random Fuck. Bridget Random Fuck.
Yeah.
Random Fuck family. She posts an Instagram and tags Bun Pierce at Logan's birthday. So if it's not for those two events, the three siblings have no idea what the fuck is going on, really. They don't have confirmation of what's going on. And they're still working on the 100. I don't think Greg, nothing happened on purpose with Greg. But there is, to me, is there a possibility in your mind that Tom did it on purpose? He called Shiv to let her know what was happening. No.
I think Tom did it because he was still interested.
Hang on. Before you answer, I'm gonna give you my evidence to why I think there's a possibility.
Okay.
Because I don't want you battling over that front part of the thing. I could just give you the whole thing. So number one is that we do know of anyone involved right now, the biggest probably calculator outside of Logan is Tom. Tom, unlike Jerry or Frank and all those guys who are basically just trying to survive to keep their status, Tom is trying to get further along. So what he does is, and you saw it in season 3 more than any other season, he knows when to be shrewd in certain things and how it is to get forward, right? So to me, Tom is always doing things very, very much in his head before he makes decisions. Number 2 is that at the end of the episode, when him and Shiv are kind of going through it, Tom keeps asking Shiv if you want to talk about today. Do you want to talk about what happened today? Do you want to talk about what happens today? And Shiv shuts him down. So the idea, and there's a glint in Tom's eye that's like, and it's before they start talking about what would be like the back and forth between them throwing dirt on the marriage. Tom literally says, "Do you want to talk about what happened today?" And to me, it seemed as though there was something else that Tom necessarily wanted to have. I don't know about you, but by the end of the episode, I was still kind of rooting for Tom and Shiv to get back together. If it was just me personally. So just knowing those two parts, what do you think?
I think there's a possibility Tom could definitely have done it. The problem is I can't see a motive. It would seem to be personally advantageous for Tom to be a senior executive at a media company that is suddenly, well, obviously it's shrunk down to the A10, but then has dealt from that shrunken size, has now doubled in size by acquiring Pierce. So, and I think he genuinely did want to make his marriage work, so that's why he was calling to say, "I'm not out."
I think that's your motive.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible. And you're right.
Also
He could have been doing it to get back in Shiv's good graces, to make that work. I just think it's unlikely. I think he's pretty clearly chosen. He's going to choose his career over Shiv, and this would not be putting his career over Shiv.
All right, I think that's fair. I think the only thing that I think what Tom is always looking for, because while I haven't quite been the full Tom in a relationship, I've been Tom-like in some of my past relationships. And there is some aspect of, I do think that he still wants to do what he can to try to save it. And if that meant throwing a bone her way,
he was willing to do it.
And I also think Tom has been a guy throughout the series that has been more than willing to play both sides, or at least to hear from both sides.
He is
like the meeting he takes with Kendall, the meeting he takes at the diner with Kendall, and he lets Kendall know, like, hey,
but that's
it's a
the
losing
thing.
proposition.
In that diner, he says, "I've seen you." What does he say? "I've seen you get fucked a million times, and I've never seen Logan get fucked, not once." And so that's why I think it's unlikely. Because he says that. He takes the meeting, but he says that. He says, "I can't do this."
Yeah.
But that's a legitimate question. If it came out, let's put it like this: if it came out later in the season that he did that intentionally to try, as one last hurrah to try to save his marriage, right? It wouldn't surprise. I think it's less likely than not, but it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Fair. And I think I'm searching for it because I really want them to work now. I was rooting against them to work, and I am Team Tom. I'm Team Tom, and yet also anti-Logan Roy. So I don't know however you need to figure that out. You figure that out.
When Logan dies this season, which Tom ascends to the throne.
All right. So anything else on Succession? Anything else on Succession episode 1?
Yes, here's what I was thinking about. This is something I was thinking about after I watched the episode. And frankly, because I did a rewatch before this episode, which was my first rewatch. If they stick the landing on this season, I'm moving it into my top 5 shows of all time. It's boot and lost off the list. My top 5 would be The Wire, The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, and this one. If they stick the landing on Succession.
Succession is already in my top 5.
It is, okay.
And it's because they announced that this was the last season. All I need to know.
They're ending it on their terms. I'm also depressed because so it's so great that they're ending it this season. Intellectually, I know this, right? Just as you said, because they're ending it on the creator's terms. This is like he had a story he wanted to tell, and it's over after 4 seasons. But just like you said,
I think it was there's a good piece that he did. I think he's in Vanity Fair. I think it was the Vanity Fair article where they're talking about how it is they make, because they were on the fence. They thought about it. They went through all the different options as far as how to. They said we could keep this going and could change into something else. Like we could keep the characters around and just kind of do the banter thing. We could maybe turn into something else. We could look a different way at it. Maybe there are other stories to tell. Then they thought maybe 2 more seasons, because they all have fun making the show. But then the way that when Jesse Ferguson writes, he just said as he was writing it, hey, this feels like a bow. And it just wrote itself that way.
It's very hard to reinvent yourself as a show. Yes.
Well, here's the thing to me is that I will tell you this: God damn it, Mencken. the young conservative firebrand political presidential candidate.
The fascist.
If they were to spin off Succession into a political drama, the Roys could show up every few episodes.
The Roys wouldn't have to be major
Connor's
characters.
Connor's at a debate.
Oh my God, right? I would kill for that.
Like,
I would kill for that. Yes.
Who wouldn't want to watch this in the sense of just from a political standpoint, not the financial stuff? And you occasionally have a Roy show just in the universe,
and because of course they're intertwined, right? The media, of course. And
especially nowadays. Yeah,
I would love it. I love it 110%. But yeah, so I think it's going to be a top 5 show of all time. The reviews, I mean, it's straight up got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not a single person of the hundreds of people who reviewed it said they didn't like it, which is insane. But I can see why if the first 4 episodes, which are the ones released to critics, are like this. So good. Yeah. And I hope we live in this world. I just, as you said, I'm going to miss these characters. I'm going to miss the episodes. But it is, if the story's over and Armstrong in his writing process was like, this is it, don't outlast your welcome. You made an unbelievable television show. Don't ruin it.
It's just choosing an ending.
Yeah.
It's choosing an ending and let the story play itself out. Because you could do it multiple ways, right? We've seen shows do either or, especially fairly recently, right? Even though fairly recently, it's been years now. Game of Thrones is a show that needed more. They needed more.
Yeah, right.
They
you can end too quickly. And that was because what's his name? What's their name?
Benioff and Weiss.
Benioff and Weiss wanted to move on, and they shot themselves in the foot because they wanted to move on. So they tried to compress everything into two seasons, and it didn't work. But that's obviously not the case here, because this is a story that Armstrong's come up with himself, not based on George R. R. Martin's famously, textbook thick books, right? A lot of steps need to get to from A to Z. You need to go through the whole fucking alphabet. You can't skip letters. But
you see,
I think.
Sorry.
And so I think by him choosing the ending, I think they're going to stick the ending. I hope Armstrong does something else because his writing, his show direction, all of it is so. He will do something else, right? I hope he does something else very quickly, because it's just been so amazing what he's done with the show. And and if he does the political drama, I'd do it. Yeah.
On the flip side, other shows that went on too long, I think The Wire almost nailed it. The Sopranos might be a little long.
The final season was actually pretty good for the
Sopranos is the only thing with The Sopranos is that there are a lot of bad episodes that I would be completely cool with losing. Probably the one that lost is a show that went too long.
Yeah,
and even though I do love the final episode, I love the ending of
the final episode is wonderful, but they lost the thread. J.J. Abrams lost the thread at some point. Yeah.
But you do see the maker of Lost outside of J.J. Abrams is Damon Lindelof, right? And if you look, the 2 shows that he then got picked up post-Lost with HBO, The Leftovers and The Watchmen, he both chose the end dates before he even started.
Yeah.
And they turned into 2 phenomenal shows.
I've never watched The Leftovers, but it was only 3 seasons, and I heard great things about it. And I did watch Watchmen, and it was fucking awesome.
Great. So, you have a guy who he learned from his mistakes. Good job. Jesse Ferguson, sign me off for whatever else you're going to fucking do. Because you nailed this one. And as long as I know, I trust him now with already knowing it's a top 5 show. Because he's going to stick it. Because he's going to be making the show that he wants to make throughout the end. That's what it is. He doesn't have an opportunity for it to change on him or for him to get behind the 8 ball on it. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I'm also, as you mentioned, sad. Simply because we're missing a show to see these characters and all that jazz. But it'll be one hell of a ride. What?
Yeah. It's so usually when you feel this way, it's almost like it's more of a comedy that you're feeling.
Because I was about to say it's like It's Always Sunny for me, right? Right. It's Always Sunny feels like they're hanging out.
It would suck.
It would suck because I don't get to see.
I watched the finale of Seinfeld, and I watched the last season of Seinfeld live because we watched it as a family. And Seinfeld, like if I had been with Jerry Seinfeld and those guys the entire way through, I would have felt really sad that I wasn't going to be with them on my Thursday nights going forward. I did. I didn't watch Seinfeld
until years after the fact. For the fact that it was done, I watched it on DVD in high school. Because guess why? My parents would not let me watch it as a kid. It was too adult. So I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons or Seinfeld.
I had HBO in my bedroom.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't feel.
Which actually.
But yeah.
Before we have anything else on.
No, but I was going to say we're at an hour and 18 minutes, so the podcast.
Yeah, just one last thing that I'm going to say. Talk about HBO shows. This is going to be the longest one because we're fitting the Succession stuff in it. I am now 2/3 of the way through an Oz rewatch. Mm-hmm. If Oz is a show you've not watched, ladies and gentlemen, it's like on HBO Max. Everyone you've seen from The Wire that you love, J.D. Williams who plays Bodhi, Wood Harris who plays Avon Barksdale, even people outside of it, Edie Falco from The Sopranos. This show is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It is also batshit fucking crazy and makes you lose all faith in humanity at the same time. It is a must-watch television program that a lot of people overlook, yourself included. When have I ever give you a bad recommendation?
No, it's honestly, I've heard only good things about it, and I generally like prison shows. What kept me away from it for so long was honestly that I've heard it described as just like so unbelievably brutal, it can be hard to watch. Is that fair? Yeah.
There's an episode. I just throw one out there. There's an episode in which Vern Schillinger, who's one of the characters who everyone knows now is J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man films, and Mr. Farmer's Insurance guy. He's a neo-Nazi, and they find out that there's a a pedophile in the prison, and they crucify him to a gym floor. And you get to watch every hit of the hammer. He's being crucified. Yeah, a lot of anal rapage, a lot of eyes getting cut out of sockets.
Oof.
Very 90s too, but the cast is so good, bro. It's just great. Even Lost. What's your favorite character in Lost?
Desmond.
Everybody has a favorite character outside of Desmond. Desmond's cheap. Mr. Echo. Everyone loves Mr. Echo. He is the scariest man in all of Oz. Adebisi. Simon Adebisi is the scariest motherfucker. He wears a tiny hat with his big old black body and head. And he's high on heroin, killing people the entire time. It's great. It's fucking great. Please, all you gotta do is turn on, watch the first episode. You will not turn it off. It's incredible. And I don't know why more people. I know why people haven't watched it. Totally understand, but you need to. It's great.
Okay.
Highly recommend it, everybody. All right, everybody. This has been the Extraordinary Nobodies, episode 8 or 9, one of those two. We'll see you guys on the Succession pod.
One of the integers. Yeah.
What comes after 9? 9B.
9B. Yeah.
Words.
Yeah.
That's a great line.
What comes after now? Can we do that? Can our 10th episode be called episode 9B? We have to.
All right, I'm down with that. I can do it. It might be this one.
It might be this one. Episode 9B.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Fucking Succession.
Peace.
Peace.